question. My question is this: where is our Nelson Mandela slash Martin Luther King Jr. slash oh boy slash oh boy, I do not know how to spell Junior. Now slash whoever it is, our Gandhi. I'm talking about things are so troubled right now, and we don't see the kind of figures that we would expect rising up who have the right, who can actually lead us out of this quagmire, so to speak. Our Moses figures, where are they? Right? Then, because this is a difficult question to answer in that way, let me say, what if we could build our own Moses? Like, what are they gonna look like? Right? I think that's an interesting question to ponder. Now, to ground that question again, I do have this chart before us: the Kenya average household disposable income and food expenditure. It shows how painful it is to live in Kenya, how painful it is for the stomach, how painful it is for the pocket. So this is, in practical sense, one of the problems that this Nelson Mandela Moses figure would need to solve. But let me ask, so I was asking myself, what would that Moses figure have to do? Like, how do I know that when that figure appears that's him, and he might actually be successful? This is what I would say. Number one, they've got to have some what I call legitimating power. And number two, they got to have some convening power. Now, as a subset of that, I say they got to have some legitimating mechanisms and some convening mechanisms. Now, that's just a fancy way to say this. Legitimacy. They've got to, I think, at the core of it, they've got to understand and present policy. It cannot be about saying fancy turns of phrase, funny poetry, jokes, and the kind of entertainment of the crowd, right? I think that the first thing is policy. Why? I think that right now the Kenyan body politic, which is just a fancy way to say the Kenyan people, right? $200 words. Tell me about it. To say that Kenyans right now actually want to know the details. They want to know, why are things the way they are? How could they change? They want to know what's going on in the government. Now, that person then should present Kenyans. Now, whoever it is, I don't know who it is. It's not up to me. Present Kenyans with a policy platform. Say, these are the things that are going wrong from a systemic perspective, not a personal perspective. So it's not this or that person who has done wrong. No. There is, and people have mystified the word system. It's just this. Rules. There are rules that are being followed in the governance and in how the government is steered, that are steering the government wrong. Now, we want to hear what those rules are, those bad rules. Now, for economists, rules are institutions. We want to know what those bad rules are. And policy is like, now I'm speaking very roughly. It's like you have rules in place, and then you say, okay, within those rules, I want to take us in this or that direction. Again, policy is depersonalized. It is objective, right? It's not about this or that person did this or that, and you got to smear this or that person's name. No. Now, in addition to that, right? So what I think that Moses figure should experiment with is he should dare himself and say, maybe it's true. Maybe Kenyans do want to hear about policy. And start talking about that, specific things. What's wrong? Number two, policy, the world, as human beings, we know how to run nations now. None of this is up to, is not divine revelation. It's all been documented, right? So that individual can then, have your policy talking heads just running up and down television stations, whatever, different platforms, and talking about this policy. That is, I think, enough about the legitimating mechanism. Because the bottom line is that figure is now going to have to get help from the Kenyan people. It's going to rely on the interest, how interested Kenyans are in change. Because he's going to have to think, this is a different time than years past. Most, years past, you talk about policy, you're going to send people to sleep. What's this guy talking about? All these $200 words. People didn't want to hear that. They wanted to hear the entertainment, I think. But now things have changed. It's saying, no, we don't want to hear the entertainment. We want to hear the policy. And this is also evident in what we saw when people took a finance bill, and what did they do with it? They took it apart, they analyzed it, and then they shared the findings with their friends, but they also shared their findings with people up country who might not have spoken English. And they said, look, let me translate this to my mother tongue, because I want my people back home to understand what is in this box, right? That's another indicator that people are interested, and maybe the most important indicator that people are interested in policy. Now, I think that in addition to that, right now the Moses figure has got to have some convening power. So he's going to have to have some convening mechanism. He's going to have to bring people together. Convening is all about bringing people together. Why? Why am I talking about bringing people together? Because you need collective action. You need to solve what economists call the collective action problem, which is a problem that people haven't agreed on what the problems are and what the solutions should be. So you need to bring them together to now that's done in different ways. Sometimes that entertainment stuff works. People do want to hear a bit of jokes and this, that, and I think those who are more politically savvy than I am know about that much more than I do. They know that, so there's different ways that crowds are brought together. But I think that they should work with legitimacy, very, very carefully, talking about policy. Now, what else? These are just some of my thoughts, and I keep on trying to think, and just say something about what's going on, and trying to figure out what's the way out. So I'm going to stop there with that, and as I think about more ideas, yeah.